Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is a roster update video and the general structure to these things. Looking at our major unlocks, we got marquee characters, working towards major projects like working towards our next Galactic Legend or an event like Mando, and then working to improve our roster for Grand Arena, getting ready with Datacrons, working on pilots, and then just any general weaknesses or other game mode progress that I want to make like in raids. And we begin with the single trooper aerial platform that I think I'm calling STAP. It could be STAP, but I just don't like the sound of that. We're going to be taking up to Gear 11. This is what we do with all characters. In terms of marquee characters, he's about average. We put a Chirotech on at Gear 9, and there's two more here at Gear 11. I looked through this. I broke it down on the Discord. He's got, I think, 4 stun guns. Really not that bad of a character. 3, the Chirotechs, it's about typical. It's on the high end of typical, but it is not unusual at all. So it's just kind of what I'm expecting, what I'm prepared for. Most of this I did off screen, but for whatever reason, I like to leave the Omegas for the videos. And then in terms of the Omicrons, in terms of Zetas, I am definitely putting them on this character. He's very promising. The Omicron sounds very good. We'll be able to do any with or without testing of the Omicron in other game modes. But in terms of Grand Arena, I don't think I'm going to waste any time with this thing. I just want to try it out. It sounds very good to me. I think there's a lot of reason to do it. I think it's going to definitely boost General Grievous. And it's also going to reduce the amount of effective counters. And I don't think stars are going to be relevant to that. At least too much. I think we'll be able to experience a lot of benefits even at 3 stars, like we've been seeing with a lot of characters like Marin or Kelleran Beck. And I don't think I've mentioned this in a while, but in general, I do recommend that you go after all these new characters, at least in terms of gear, right away. If you need to take your time to farm them, do that. But there's a lot of benefit to having these characters at Gear 11 immediately because this game is biased towards new kits. So you can get benefits in Conquest. A lot of feats are related to these characters. If you have them at Gear 11, it makes Conquest a ton easier. 3 stars is usually fine. A lot of these characters are good even at low stars because their kits need to be very powerful because of power creep. So they tend to be very effective contributors even at these stages. So I really think it is worth the time and resource investment to at least get these characters somewhat viable at this Gear 11 stage that I advocate. And a quick check-in with our Horde. This is just a heat map. The specifics here aren't really important. You've seen this in a number of videos. If this is your first time, the general idea here, these are the gear I need for Mandos. Everything is gray, so I'm in surplus. Other relics that I'm working towards right now, in this case, we're looking at like Moff Gideon, Kylo Ren, Maul, Malicos, Dark Trooper, Moff Gideon. Those characters are factored into this number. This is what I need to get Lord Vader, and this is where I'm still in deficit. So the colors that you see, those are what I'm still working towards. And I'm getting pretty close to Lord Vader. Like, hopefully by the end of February, probably sometime in March, I'll have Lord Vader. Like, we are getting closer and closer with the gear pieces. And then Chirotechs here, this last column of projects. This is Darth Bane, Mando, Lord Vader, the gear that I need for those characters. And at this point, it is mainly Chirotechs. And I did not factor in the Chirotechs that I just placed on STAP, so I'm actually further behind than what this indicates. Now we move along to our major projects that we're working towards, starting with Mando, and we're just adding a couple stars onto a couple characters. So we have a 5-star Grogu now. We're getting pretty close to 6 stars, a couple more weeks. So I'm at 47 out of 85, so a little bit more than halfway on Grogu. And then Kelleran Beck, we got to 4 stars. And he's been really effective. I'm looking forward to him doing some more damage, but the rest of his kit, the unique, the assist calls are so effective that is already very strong. He's been my preferred Krex counter, for instance, in 3v3. And he just became farmable, so on a light side note, I'm expecting to have him done by by the end of March. So maybe if Mando Bo is monthly, maybe April. Now, we could take Paz to Relics, we could take Bam to Relic 7, but I want to see what these characters function at Gear 11, 7 stars. So I'm keeping some of those resources off for now so I can do a little bit testing over the long term. Lord Vader, last video we took all these characters up to Relics. I think what we're going to do now is push everybody to Relic 5. I think I've got plenty of resources for that without really getting too far into things. We're pretty good on some of the signal data, good on a lot of the slicing materials, and I don't think it's going to affect anything for me to just boost these characters up a little bit, because I'm happy with my hordes, and this means more Datacron usage on some of these characters. It means that, like, the Marauder is going to be a little bit stronger. We're going to beef up these pilots to beef up that ship, because that ship's really impressive. It's really boosted what the Galactic Republic fleet can do. And I also want to improve what the Bad Batch can do, because, like, the Bad Batch, for instance, can be a trench counter in 3v3, and right now it's not really working for me. Maybe it's a mod issue, but I think it's definitely not going to hurt to improve the relic levels on these characters. So add that to Hunter, and then we got 2 more to go with these guys, but I think all that I can do in this set of characters. Take Tech up, hit that. It's just nice to, like, feel like you're making progress on all this stuff. Like, generally I don't. Generally I hoard until the last moment. But with Lord Vader, and what I've been feeling like with some of these projects, like the Galactic Legend currency and some of these events, is that Galactic Legend event, having more Galactic Legends, what that in turn means is spending less crystals on that event. It's a major crystal savings. Because of where the cap is, if you're only buying Omicrons, which is the only thing I'm using that currency for, there's only so many times you can do that before the event returns. And then I found that there was a limit to how many times I was going to refresh before I maxed out. And if you have more GLs, it means refreshing less and still hitting that max limit on the currency. So there is a nice benefit to having more Galactic Legends. It's the crystal savings you are getting from not having to engage in that event as much as a player like me, where it is costing me more to get the same amount of impact and currency out of that event as players with 8 GLs. So every GL now, it in effect means a crystal reduction every time that Ultimate Journey event returns. Let me jump in here to these characters, just add a relic on Arc. He needs to go to 8 eventually, but 5 is good enough for now. With the cam shards, like, I was trying to find the minimum level on these characters, and I was slow playing it, trying to find the mods, try and get everything right to beat that. I don't even remember its name anymore. To beat that monster. My memory's going. But it was something where I could not quite get the minimums that you can see some other videos doing. I tried for them a lot and very often. I would take Echo here. Alright, another character finished towards Lord Vader. I guess we'll do Zam. And you can see with the signal data, things are still looking good. And with some of these slicing materials like the chromium transistor, the bronzium wiring, I've got a very healthy surplus of those. It's one of the things where, because I was so conservative with my relics for a very long time, I was able to build up a healthy amount of that currency. And we're done with that Embo. And for 3v3 purposes, like Tusken Raider, adding a couple relic levels here is definitely going to help, even though I think most players at this stage are fairly comfortable with dealing with Tuskens. Because, at least at my level, because my opponents are no longer having issues, which is unfortunate. Add 1 to Tarkin, and then we got 1 more with Newt. Newt actually might already be done, because I may have added some to him for Datacron purposes. Yeah, that is the case. Now for our next element, we're going to be looking at Bag here. Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, Beskar Armor Gideon. I'm taking him up to Relics. I was trying to debate this, but because of how good he is in 3v3, we're not wasting time. It is more of a relic investment that I was originally wanting to do, but we've got the Datacron. This is a character that I think the Datacron is too effective to not be using. And at least in 3v3, it's a smaller relic investment. Maybe in 5v5, I'll make a different decision, because it is more relic characters than I'm really prepared to do right now. But for 3v3, this is a minimal investment. We have other troopers that we can utilize here. We'll take them to the relic 5 minimum to be able to use the Datacron. And it will hopefully mean a nice boost for the final week of Grand Arena, where we have at least another annoying weapon on offense or a strong defensive team. But it does mean I need to add another relic so that I can have an effective squad. I guess I could just run in with these characters, but I want to add Moff Gideon. And that's a relic that I've been needing and wanting for a long time for a couple reasons. One, when I use Veer's squad in 5v5, I can't put a Datacron on it because I don't have this character relics. Also, raids. It's another character that will help boost some of my raid scores. So this is all going to have a lot of value for my roster overall. Multiple game modes, multiple reasons, 5v5, 3v3, raids. For right now though, relic 3. And he's a character who was budgeted. Dark Trooper Moff Gideon was budgeted. STAP's the only character that I haven't really planned for because I didn't update any of my formulas and spent the resources on those characters in my tables. I'll show you where I am with these Datacrons. I wish I had more Empire ones. I didn't get a lot of those. I could do some rerolls, but I've got Bam, I've got Bag, we got Bo-Katan, I've got Probe Droid, who I don't have at Relics, but I think that's one I might be considering in 5v5, and then we have Grogu's. I might re-roll that, I might not. I'm kind of undecided about that one. But I don't have him at 7 stars right now, so it doesn't really matter. Although I could consider adding relics to Paz Vizsla so that I could put together a better BAM team. Do I want to do that? That wasn't my original intent, but that is something I could consider. Because right now, I don't have enough light side Mandos to really have an effective BAM team. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just, I like to do low gear testing. I think I'm going to hold off. I'm going to think on it though. It might be something I want to do sooner than later, but I am fairly close to being done with Grogu. I think we're going to hold off. This is kind of what this channel's about, is trying to do as much as we can with the least amount. And even though we could go after the relics, I think I still want to spend a little bit more time with these characters without the resources to really determine how usable they are at these levels, which we haven't really done the first 2 weeks of Grand Arena just because of the strength of my opponents. Maybe this final week we'll get a little bit more opportunity. I think we're going to do one last thing just to strengthen Grand Arena a little. It's not going to be a ton just because I don't have a full relic squad for Malicos. I could slice some stuff, but I just think I'm going to take it from Relic 7. Relic 5 is fine, it's usable, but he's just such a solid character. I want him to be more of a threat. And we've got the resources. We're still good on all of this. It's all budgeted. Let's make him a better weapon. And from there, we can keep playing. But I really think the biggest improvement that we're going to be seeing from my roster is the addition of Bag and his Datacron to my Grand Arena weaponry. What all these changes mean is it's time to update my spreadsheet. Not only for the Lord Vader counts are no longer relevant, but we just finished off a couple characters on my list of relics that I want to have, like Moff Gideon, Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, Malicos. I'm going to want to add some new characters, like Imperial Super Commando, or Gar Saxon, or even some for a Seer Junda squad with Fulcrum or Cal Kestis, and start incrementally making my roster get ready for another push towards Kyber 1, because as we have been having these matches the past couple weeks, we've just been knocking on the door of Kyber 1. We've been within 40 to 60 banners a couple times now, and it would only take 1 or 2 more wins to get there. So look out for those changes next time. We've got videos on STAP's kit reveal. We got recent comeuppance testing in Grand Arena, along with seeing what the upper limit of my roster looks like at the high end of Kyber 2, where we've had some pretty rough brackets, and hopefully the additions of relics like on bag will change my prospects as we finish this season of Grand Arena. Thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everybody. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.